I'm asking, we have two options.
Mhm.
One option is to learn English variations. So we're going to listen to a British person, an Australian person, an American person, and we're going to talk about the variations of English. And it can be quite fun. It's very interesting, all of the words that Australians come up with. And the other option is we can try and solve riddles that Group D worked on. So another group of pro-English students, we worked on some riddles together, and they're mathematically based riddles. So which do you prefer? Do you prefer English variations, or do you want to do some riddles?
I think English variation.
English variations?
Yes.
Okay, Taya, what do you think?
I think so too.
Okay, no problem, no problem. So we'll switch over, we'll do some English variations. All right, so the reason why I like to do this lesson is because it doesn't always, it doesn't just happen in English, but it also happens in Slavic languages as well. So for example, let me get a Word document. So for example, if I use the word pozor here in Czech Republic, it means danger, right? Caution, be careful, right? But over there in Russia, it means shame, terrible, right? So if someone is about to be hit by a bus and I'm in Russia, I can't say pozor, pozor, because they would say shame, shame, what do you mean, right? And so also here in Czech Republic, I can use the word čerstvý. Oops, čerstvý. And this means fresh. It means like if you get čerstvý bread, it's perfect, it's wonderful bread. Or if you get some čerstvý, some plants, some herbs, then they're fresh from the garden, right? But if I go to Poland and I say čerstvý, it means not fresh. It means stale and old and gross, right? So if I go to Poland and I say, I would like some čerstvý bread, they would look at me like, oh, you poor peasant. You're so some other ones. So for example, gréčka, I don't have I don't have a Russian keyboard, so I can't do it yet. But gréčka here in Czech Republic is pohanka. Yeah, pohanka. And puhanka is a poisonous mushroom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if I go to Russia and I say
mushroom with white dots.
Yeah. It's a mushroom with white dots. So if I go to Russia and I say, please give me some puhanka, they might think, oh, that's very strange. Yeah, here you go, bye. And then another one would be, if I am from Slovenia, the word for child is otrok. But if I use this word in the Czech Republic or in Poland, it means slave. So when I'm talking about children, I'm talking about little slaves, and I say, my slave works very hard, and my slave is very good at his homework. So even with the Slavic languages, you get these variations. Some words mean completely different things in different places. The idea is that we are going to watch a video, this one here, and this is Korean Billy. I'll make it a little smaller. This is Korean Billy, and he has a lot of videos on YouTube. And so he's from Korea, and that's why we have these Korean subtitles. But he doesn't speak Korean, so don't worry about that. But he has a lot of videos about all of the funny things that he encounters in English. And he has 3 friends here. John, American John, British Sam, and Australian Bella. And they will tell us, he will show them a picture, and then he will ask them, what do you call this thing? And you will be very surprised with all of the Australian English. The Australian English is so funny, even to Americans and British people. So let's start in on the video and get to the first picture, and we're gonna play along, okay?
Hello everyone, this is Korean Billy, and this is
American John,
British Sam,
and Australian Bella.
And today we're going to talk about different kinds of English, like American, British, and Australian. And today we're going to talk about different vocabulary. So I have prepared 10 different pictures. I'm going to ask you, how do you call each picture? Okay, ready?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the first one is...
All right, what is this place?
It's. I forgot how to so.
No problem. Taya, do you know?
It's gas station. I don't know.
Okay, good. Gas station. Where is...
It's what is it? How it sound English?
So where do they call it? A gas station. Do they call it a gas station in America?
Fuel.
Hmm?
No.
Oh, Taya disappeared. Okay, so they call it a gas station in one of these 3 countries. Sorry? Which country do you think they call it a gas station in?
It's maybe American.
Okay, good. So, gas station. And do you have any idea what they call it in Britain?
Nope.
No? Okay. Let's listen into the video and see what...
This one.
I already know what the British is on
oh
this
yeah, let's go.
one. Gas station.
Petrol station.
We call it the petrol station, but we also call it the servo.
Ah, servo.
I've heard of
That's
that.
right.
Servo is service station,
Yeah,
right?
but just
Ah.
shortened. We have a lot of slang for things like
Because we stations. It has a petrol station, but it's also for like taking a break. So they're usually alongside the motorway, and yeah, you can pull in for a break. So there's a petrol station and lots of shops where you can just take a break or eat something.
But there are like different kinds of petrol other than gas, right?
Yes, there are. You have gas and diesel together, so we still just call it gas station.
Okay, the next one.
I have no idea what American John is talking about. Gas and diesel together. But, so, in America, we call it a gas station, and in Britain they call it a petrol station, and in Australia they will call it a petrol station, but they will also call it a servo. And servo is short for service station. So if someone asked me for a service station, I would imagine they're looking for a place to have their car repaired or fixed. Okay, so service station probably wouldn't be what you're looking for in the US. Also in the US, if you said you're looking for a petrol station, I wouldn't know what petrol is. It sounds very strange, like some sort of strange fuel. But the reason why they call it a gas station, and in Britain they call it a petrol station, is because the stuff you put into the car, we call it gas, which is short for gasoline, right? Gasoline. And here they just call it petrol. Anything you put in your car is petrol. And it derives from petroleum, the stuff that you get the gas from. And they call it petrol here as well. Okay. Good. How do you like their accents? How do you like their accents? Can you understand them very well?
I can understand this.
Okay, good. How about you, Taya?
I can understand too.
Okay, and a lot of people say Korean Billy has the hardest accent to understand. So That's probably
is
all right. What are these things?
Fries.
Okay, good. So in one place they call them fries. Which place would that be? The US, you think?
American.
Yeah, I would call them fries or French fries. What do they call them in Britain?
Chips. Yeah.
Chips, right. But that's a little confusing to me because what are these down here?
It's an American chips.
Yeah, so I would call these chips. Do you know what they call these crispy potato things in Britain?
Crisps.
Yeah, very good. Crisps. Crisps. Good. So they call French fries chips and they call chips crisps. And that's very confusing to me, but eventually I have it now. I understand. How about in Australia? What do you think they call it? Let's listen.
Fries or French fries?
Chips.
Chips.
and chips is also different in America, right?
Chips is crisps.
the snacks.
It's like the potato.
Potato
Chips.
chips.
Right.
Yeah.
Potato chips.
Exactly.
And you call it crisps,
Crisps.
right?
They are crisps.
Yeah.
We just call it chips.
Chips.
That's chips and crisps are also chips.
Well, that's confusing.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you say I want a side of chips, do they say which type? And you say chips.
Well, it depends on the context.
But
You know,
let's
like,
say you get a sandwich with French fries or chips. What do you say?
why would you get like crisps with a sandwich?
You don't
There are
have
some
crisps
weird
with a
people.
sandwich?
All right. So chips is chips and chips is chips, right? So they call them chips everywhere. And American John says that's confusing, right? Because what if you ask for chips? How do you know if you're getting this or this? And Bella, super smart, she says, why would you care if you get this? This is what you want, right? The hot French fries. Who wants these cold chips when you can get hot French fries? Very smart, right?
The
Okay,
next one is
what is this thing?
Underground.
Okay, underground. Any other name?
Station.
Yeah, it's a station, but there's this vehicle going on. So where do they call it underground, Taya? Do you know?
No.
I think they call it underground here in Britain. What would I call it? The same as a sandwich restaurant where you go buy sandwiches. Well, sandwich fast food place. Subway.
Subway.
I might also call it a metro. Yeah.
Mhm.
The British people have another word for it. They call it the tube. So do you guys know what a tube is? A tube is just a hollow piece of something, right? So these are tubes. And when you think of it, this train is just in a big tube underneath the ground. So,
Okay.
you disagree?
this one.
We would call it the subway.
The tube.
The train.
Even it's simple.
We don't have like a subway system
So you don't really use words like underground or subway.
because it's not underground. So
Okay.
But that's true because we don't use the underground outside of London.
It's only the London Underground.
Yeah,
and then
literally
everything
because
else
it's
is
underground.
Tube.
Yeah.
so outside of London it's just the train.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The next
All right, interesting, right? So in Australia, they just call it the train.
Train.
Train, easy. And the reason is because it's not underground, right? So the reason why they call it the underground is because it's literally underground. The reason why we call it a subway is because sub is always under, right? A submarine boat sinks under the water, or subtracting is less than, right? So sub is under, right? Good. All right,
one is
what are these?
Flip-flops.
Okay, where do they use the word flip-flops? I'll give you a hint. They use it here in the US.
Flip-flops.
Yeah, they also use flip-flops here. When I was a kid, I would call these sandals. And I think a lot of people in the US would also call these sandals. I don't know if they'll call them sandals in Britain. Okay. Now, this is where things get a little crazy with Australian. Okay, so let's listen.
This one.
Flip flops.
We also say
Thongs.
flip flops.
Really?
Sandals,
You don't say
maybe?
thongs?
That's Australian.
Oh, it is?
Thongs, yeah.
That's
Oh.
a
That
whole
could be
nother
really
level.
embarrassing,
It
right?
can be
Yeah.
very embarrassing.
Very embarrassing.
Yeah.
So what do you
Yeah.
call the thong?
G-string?
Ah,
We use G-string and thong
Yeah, we-
almost interchangeably,
yeah.
although G-string
Right.
can be thinner.
how do you know this? How do you know this?
Yeah.
That could be embarrassing.
Yeah.
When I hear like I bought some new thongs.
Yeah.
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 See, like, I don't know
Yeah.
why you're telling me that. I don't need to know that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. When I'm talking
TMI.
to people who aren't Australian, I say flip-flops.
Mm,
Oh,
You
okay.
know.
Yeah,
you
I know.
better.
Yeah.
Okay, so very interesting piece of information that Bella gives us at the end there. But they call them thongs. And of course, thong in the US, it's this underwear or like if you have a bikini, a swimsuit, it's a bikini bottom, right? So if you're talking to an Australian and they say, hey, go grab your thongs, they're not asking you to go grab your underwear. But the thing that Bella says at the end was very important and something that happens to me quite often. And that is when she's not speaking to somebody who's from Australia, she knows not to use this word because she knows that it's confusing, right? So when I'm here in Europe, there are some words that I know from American English. And when I'm not speaking to other Americans, I would use different words so that they're not confused or that things aren't weird, I don't give the wrong impression. So this doesn't happen a whole lot, but it does happen every once in a while. So it's a good thing to be careful about. Okay,
Next one is
here's that. What is
Sandwich.
this? Yeah, it's a sandwich, easy. But we're gonna look for slang words for a sandwich.
this one.
Sandwich.
That's like a BLT.
But it's
But it's a sandwich.
HLT.
Yeah. Australian?
It's a sandwich.
Sandwich.
If you wanted to be really Australian, you could say it's a sanger.
Sanger.
It's the slang for sandwich.
We say sarnie. It's like SARNIE.
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 See, I've heard Sammy before, but
Sammy?
not in the US or not from a US
Yeah.
program.
There isn't any
Sandwich.
like slang for sandwich, right?
It's just sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next.
John, American John, he's failing me. We have so many words for sandwich, so many words. So in Britain, they call it a sarnie, right? And in Australia, they call it a sanger. And in the US, you can have a sub sandwich, you can have a hero, you can have a grinder, you can have a hoagie, you can have a Cuban sandwich. Although this isn't a nickname, it's a special type of sandwich. You can have a Philly cheesesteak.
Oh my gosh.
You can have a hot brown. You can have po' boy. Oh, so many good words for sandwich. But these are all mostly regional. So po' boy is something you would say down by Louisiana or down by Texas. Hot brown you would only use in Virginia, North Carolina. Philly cheesesteak, everybody knows that one. Cuban, everybody knows that one. Hoagie, grinder, and hero, these are all the same as a sub, but you would probably only use this in Philadelphia or New York or New Jersey, that kind of place. But we have lots and lots and lots of words for sandwich. Good. Any questions so far?
No.
Okay. It's pretty fun learning all the different words. Did you like the way they're making fun of each other as well? So for example, when John said
His face.
When John said Sarnie, he really pronounces this R here, right? So Sarnie, right? And if you're in Britain, that R is kind of rolled over. Sarni.
Song.
Song. And so when he says Sarni, everybody says, oh my God, your accent. Okay. All right.
One
Next one.
is
What is this?
It's elevator.
Elevator.
Lift.
Lift. Good. So we have both words. In the US, I would call it an elevator. And in Britain, they would call it a lift. And any ideas what they call it in Australia?
Lift.
Yeah, they call it a lift.
Elevator.
Lift.
I guess elevator, but you'll hear both kind of interchangeably.
ah, okay. So
Right
you
in
use
between.
both.
Yeah, and like on the signs, some places will say lifts, some places will say elevator.
Is there anything that says elevator lift?
No, it's one or the other.
And next one is
Okay, good. Oops, can't go too far. So they'll use both words.
Elevator and lift.
Yeah, both of them. And they'll use them interchangeably. It means exactly the same thing. Sometimes you'll see this word, and sometimes you'll see this word. It took me a little bit to get used to this word, lift. I was like, lift, what is that thing? All right, what is this restaurant called?
McDonald's.
McDonald's. And McDonald's. Here is where we start to understand just how crazy Australian can be.
I think that's what this one is for Australian
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Australian
Yeah.
only. McDonald's.
McDonald's.
Macca's.
Yeah.
There are actually a few that have the sign changed to say Macca's instead of McDonald's.
Really?
That could be really embarrassing when Korean people see those kind of signs for the first time.
This is an off-brand of McDonald's.
Yeah, fake McDonald's
Is
or
this
something
really
like that.
McDonald's?
Yeah. Why was McDonald's changed into Macca's?
Because we're lazy, we don't want to say the full word. Like anything that can be shortened will be shortened. Like ambulance is ambo, avocado is avo,
Afternoon.
like afternoon arvo.
Arvo.
Yeah.
The next one is
All right, good. So we get a little bit of insight. Macca's. And just so you know, it's real. We can look it up online. So you can see some of them have the sign changed. So it actually says Macca's. And I had an Australian friend when I was in a program to get my certificate to teach English. One of the other students was Australian, and one day we were hanging out, she and I, and she said, "Hey, let's go to Macca's." And I thought, "What is Macca's?" And I thought it was some special Czech restaurant here in Prague. And so we start walking, and she takes me to McDonald's, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh,
Macca's.
Macca's! This is Macca's? Terrible." So, what were some other ones? Ambulance, they call ambo, right? Avocado,
Avo.
avo, and afternoon is
Avo.
arvo,
Avo.
yeah,
Avo.
arvo, yeah. And that same friend that took me to Macca's, she texted me on my phone once, and she said, "What are you doing tomorrow, Arvo?" And I said, "I don't have any plans for tomorrow. What is an Arvo?" So I didn't know what this was, but sometimes you're so used to using the words from home that you forget that other people aren't Australian. So they use these words, and they use them quite a lot. Oops, wrong window.
is
What is this?
Sweets, candies.
Candies.
Yeah, candies and sweets. So I would call them candies, and in Britain they would call them sweets. And I might even go so far as to say that these are hard candies. So if you say candies, you get this general sense of little things in wrappers like this. But this particular picture, oh, not that one. This particular picture, these are hard candies, right? So they'll, yeah, these aren't wrapped up. There's no chocolate, right? It's just hard candies. How about in Australia?
this one.
Candy.
Sweets.
Lollies.
Lollies.
Wow.
Not a lollipop. What's
It's not a lolly.
What is it?
It's a sweet.
It's a lolly.
What about the circle
That's
one?
a lolly.
That's a lollipop.
Lollipop
Oh, you
and
say
lolly.
lollipop.
We say ice lolly as well. Yeah, ice lolly.
Ice lolly.
Yeah.
Oh,
We
for
say
like icy
popsicle.
pole?
Yeah, yeah. Icy pole?
Icy pole.
Oh my god, I get
That's
confused.
so cute. Icy pole.
Icy. What an icy pole.
That's what it is.
All right.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think that's, before we give away the next one. So they call them lollies. And whenever I see this word lolly, I think of the lollipop, exactly as they said. But then they started talking about it and British.
Icy lolly.
Yeah, an ice lolly. He called it an ice lolly. And Bella called it an
Ice
icy
cold.
pole, right?
A pole.
Icy pole. What is a pole? Do you guys know what a pole is? It's something that'll hold a flag or something that will hold a post. So this is a telephone pole. This is a light pole. Let's see, do we have any fence poles? Here's a pole vaulter. So that's a pole. Here's a flag pole. So when you think of an icy pole, it's like a cold one of these. So it sounds really ridiculous to us, icy pole. But again, I know other Australians and they've used the word icy pole near me and I thought, oh, that's very, very strange. But because of this video, I knew that what they were talking about. In the US, I would call it a popsicle. Popsicle. And popsicle is a name brand like Band-Aid or Q-tip, but it's stuck. And so now everybody calls these popsicles. Okay. And so when they were talking about a lollipop, this pop thing becomes ice cream on a stick, right? Popsicle. It's an icicle, like an icicle that hangs off your roof on a stick. Okay, what is this stuff? It's
Cotton candy.
Oh, very good, very good. Have you ever had cotton candy?
Eat?
Yeah, have you eaten it?
Yes, of
Yeah,
course.
of course, I have no idea.
Yes.
Of course, crazy. Everybody's had cotton candy. So cotton candy is really kind of this nice fluffy stuff that turns into nothing in your mouth, right? In Britain, they have a special word for it, and I think it's very, very strange. So let's listen.
Cotton candy for America.
It's different.
Candy floss.
Candy
Oh,
floss.
fairy floss.
Fairy
Floss.
floss.
Wow, Australians are creative. I like this. I'm gonna go back home to England and say fairy floss, and everyone's gonna look at me like, what the hell did you just say?
Where have you been?
Yeah.
The next
All right, so cotton candy, candy floss,
Fairy floss.
fairy floss, right? Fairy floss. What is floss? Do you guys know?
It's
No. Floss is the string that you use to clean between your teeth. Yeah, this is floss. So when I think of candy floss, I think of floss made out of candy, rubbing sugar between your teeth. So candy floss sounds awful. Sounds like an awful idea, right? But fairy floss just sounds like floss for a little fairy, so not too bad, right? But both very strange names for me in this thing. Okay. Let's listen in to
one is
what is this place?
I don't know.
This is all wine, it looks like. So this is all wine and there's some alcohol here as well. And I don't think this shop sells much more than this. Okay. Let's listen in. This is really a fun one.
this one.
Liquor store.
Off license.
What?
Off license.
Off license.
Off license.
What's on license?
We don't have one.
On license. What is on license?
I have no idea where it originated from, and it sounds really illegal. but
It does,
it's
yeah.
an off
Yeah.
license. Yeah, we don't have an on license.
Yeah, we call it a bottle shop, or if you want to shorten it, a bottle-o.
Follow. What does
Yeah.
all O stand for? then?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay.
It's like how Australians just shorten things. Yeah, so most people don't say bottle shop, they just say I'm going to the bottle-o.
Do you also use the word liquor?
No, sounds really foreign to British people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we just say
Do you say
alcohol.
liquor?
Yeah, we just say alcohol as well.
Alcohol, booze.
Booze.
Yeah, we use alcohol booze too.
All right, so they call it a liquor store. In the US, you could probably also call it a convenience store or a mini mart. So it's like a small grocery store or a mini market. Here in Britain, yeah, they call it an off license. What a strange name, right? So a license is something usually you have like a card or something and it allows you to drive or it allows you to do something special. So being off license sounds like someone took it and you don't have it anymore, right?
Off.
And so even for the British people, it sounds weird. It sounds crazy. But yeah, who knows? Anyway, and in Australia, they call it,
Shop. Oh.
yeah, the bottle. You can call it the bottle shop. Good. All right. What
This is going to be the
are
last word.
these things?
This one.
Cookies.
Cookies. Good. So in the US, I would call these a cookie. Any idea what they call them in Britain?
I don't know. I think it's cookie too.
They use the word cookie, but it's a special kind of cookie, right?
Is
So
that a cookie or a cracker? I'm gonna guess
Yeah,
cookie.
cookie.
Yeah, cookie.
I'll tell you what, it's neither because it's a biscuit.
Yes, that's a biscuit. Biscuits are mainly sweet and then crackers are more like
Yeah.
savory.
Okay.
And you also use the word cookie, right?
We use
For different
cookie.
kinds of
Exactly,
snacks,
it's more
right?
doughy, yeah, made of dough, and you know, like typical chocolate chip.
What about biscuit in America?
It's like Southern style biscuit. It's about, I don't know, this thick. And it's a certain type of bread and a certain type of way of making the bread. And that's called a biscuit.
That always confused me because people were talking about like eating like biscuits and gravy or something,
Yeah.
and I'm like, why would you eat
Biscuits and gravy.
Yeah,
Biscuits
and
because
then
biscuits are savory.
yeah, because I didn't realize a biscuit was like bread. I was like,
Yeah.
why would you eat?
It's like maybe if you slice off the top of a muffin, that's the size of a biscuit, but it tastes nothing like a muffin.
You said biscuit and gravy in England.
You'd be like,
People would be like, what the hell is that?
Right.
all right. So biscuits and gravy. Biscuit. I'll call it a biscuit here. So in the US, a biscuit is a special type of bread.
Mhm.
And here in England, they'll call it a savory scone. I don't know what they call it in Australia. Probably the same thing. But a biscuit is a special type of bread. Maybe I can make this picture larger. There you go. So this is what a biscuit looks like, right? And it's a very, very wonderful, salty, buttery piece of bread. And it's made with buttermilk. You make it with buttermilk, baking powder, flour, butter, and you just fold it all together and you barely mix it. You mix it just until it's done mixing, and then you leave it alone. And then you come back and you fold it. And then you roll it out and you fold it. And then you leave it alone. And then you come back and you cut it up and you put it in the oven. And when you eat it, you can see it's got this layered structure here. And so it'll open up very easily. And it's so good. And the thing is, you know the fast food place KFC, right? KFC, they sell chicken.
Yes.
KFC has wonderful biscuits, absolutely amazing biscuits, but you cannot get them in Europe, and you probably can't get them there in Russia because of this confusion. Everybody thinks a biscuit is a cookie, right? So if you say biscuit here in Europe, people will think it's a cookie. And so you can't get this in Europe. And it's so disappointing. I'll put it that way. I went to KFC once and I looked on the menu and there were no biscuits, and I just went home to do. And so I did some research. I looked online and I did some research, and the reason is it's because of this confusion here, right? And also when you listen to them talk, there's a famous dish in the southern United States, biscuits and gravy, biscuits and sausage gravy. And you can imagine if somebody put gravy on cookies, it wouldn't taste too good, right? Good, all right, so don't be alarmed, but Bella has all new hair, okay? I took 2 episodes and I put them together. So Bella has blonde hair now, but she's still Australian, so don't worry. What do we call these things?
Trainers.
Okay, so in the UK.
Or if sneakers.
Yeah, good. In the UK, we'll call them trainers. And in the US, we call them sneakers. When I was growing up, I called them tennis shoes. Even if you never played tennis ever in your life, you call them tennis shoes.
Tennis shoes.
All right. And then in Australia, they will call them runners. And this is the same word that they will use in Canada. Yeah. So let's listen.
Okay. Yeah. So, how do you call this?
Sneakers.
Sneakers. UK.
Trainers.
Trainers.
And we call them runners.
Runners.
Yeah.
I love the simplicity of us.
Because you run in them.
But you train in them.
Because you sneak.
You don't sneak in them, right?
But what about actual running people? Are they also called runners? Yeah.
Yeah. Runners wear runners.
And in America, you call that sneakers again?
Sneakers.
Sneakers.
And I don't know where that comes from, because you don't sneak.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe because they're quiet. They're rubber.
You might as well be sneaking.
You might as well be sneaking.
Yeah.
All right. What is this thing called?
It's
Taya, do you have any ideas?
No.
No? Okay. In Australia, they call it a truck. Here, they call it a lorry. Have you heard this word before? Red lorry, yellow lorry? Red lorry, yellow lorry? Yeah. So there's a tongue twister, red lorry, yellow lorry, and it's from this truck. And in the US, we would call it a truck, but we would also call it a semi. We might call it a big rig. We might call it an 18-wheeler because it has 18 wheels. What else would I call this? A tractor trailer. Oops, tractor trailer. The US is a very large country, and we use these all over the place. So they have a lot of different names for this. These are the most common. Let's listen.
I know yours, because I watch Top Gear.
You watched that? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
We got like a couple different names. One is just truck, because that's fine. Or rig. Rig is like a big truck. Or, 3. Rig, truck, semi. Those are your 3. But that would just be a truck or a rig. A semi would be your really long one. Yeah, a really, really big one that you see in America.
What about the UK?
It's a lorry.
Lorry.
I love
Lorry.
hearing that name. Say it
Lorry.
again.
So we have a tongue twister, which is maybe you know it's where we say red lorry, yellow lorry, really
Yeah.
fast. I'm not going to do it because I'm going to make a fool of myself.
Lorry, yellow.
Red lorry.
But
yellow
You can do it.
lorry.
Do it.
Red lorry, yellow lorry.
But really quickly.
No, I can't do it.
Then how do you call this?
We just call it a truck.
Truck.
Really?
Oh.
There's nothing fancy in Australia.
Wow.
For that one. Yeah.
Truck.
All right. What is this building?
apartment block.
Okay, good. So you have a little bit of both, right? I would call it an apartment building. And American John uses the word complex, and that word is fairly common. And then you said apartment block, right? So they would call this a block of, and then what's the word they would use in Britain? You know? Let's listen.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
So this type of building, how would you say that?
Apartment complex or apartments.
Apartment. What about the UK?
We'd call it a block of flats, or just if it's the one, then a flat.
Oh,
Flat.
block of flats.
A block of flats.
Oh, block of.
Yeah.
flats. Okay, got it.
But you don't really use
Wouldn't say-
flat complex or
No, or a flat block. No, that sounds a bit strange.
yeah, just flat.
A flat
Yeah,
block. would
flat
be a
or a
parking
block
lot.
of flats.
Yeah. What about Australia?
See, this is where I get a bit confused because we use both of those. We use apartment and flats.
Any difference?
I think, to my knowledge, apartments are bigger. So apartments will have more stories, whereas a flat might have like 2 or 3 levels, and that's kind of the distinction between it. But we use both.
And I believe in the UK there are also like apartments, which are considered quite fancy.
Yeah, they're like
type of
studio
residence.
apartments. Yeah.
No. Okay. So in Europe, if I use the word apartment, it's usually for something very fancy, right? But in Australia, they'll use both words. Surprise, surprise, right? And it's difficult for me. Oops, I messed this up. It's very difficult for me to say flat. I always say apartment, and it's something that I try to practice to not say because people in Europe are used to this word flat, right? Also, the verb to pay money to live in this place is different, right? So I would say rent. I'm going to rent an apartment. But in the UK, even in Scotland, and I think even in Ireland, they use the verb let. So I'm going to let a flat. It means I'm going to pay somebody so that I can live in the flat. And then in the US, it's always renting an apartment. Okay. Good. What is this thing? Do you guys know?
It's shopping cart.
Shopping cart. Yeah, very good. Also, this thing here where you pay money to release it, this is so strange to me. This little chain here doesn't exist in the United States. But yeah, so I will call it a shopping cart here. Here, oops, sorry. Here in UK, they will call it a shopping trolley. And here they also call it a trolley. But what is a trolley to me? A trolley to me is a trolley car. It's these funny looking cars in San Francisco. And when we listen to these three, John will talk about a tram. He'll talk about a trolley car, but Bella will think a tram. But we also have trams. So we have both.
I think we would call this shopping cart. Or cart.
Yeah.
But shopping cart for full name.
Yeah, cart. What
Yeah.
about the UK?
This is a trolley or a shopping trolley.
Oh.
trolley.
Oh, maybe I knew yours then, sorry.
Yeah.
Trolley.
Trolley.
Interesting.
Yeah, we also call it a trolley.
Oh,
Hell yeah.
trolley as well.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. It's so interesting because like sometimes Australia and American words are same, and
Yeah.
sometimes Australia and British words are same. So that's really confusing.
So I can be friends with everyone.
Yeah, but it's like we can't be friends.
no, we're done.
Yeah,
You and
it's
me
horrible.
done. But when Australia has their own words, it's like really,
No one
really
knows.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you not really used to the word trolley?
Trolley to us would be like, maybe if you've seen in San Francisco or something, it's, you know, the type of train looking thing on tracks that uses electricity to be moved forward. And that would be a trolley.
It's a
When
trolley
we thought of
car,
that.
right? The full
Yeah,
name.
trolley car.
Yeah, because we call it trams.
Oh, okay.
Melbourne has the biggest tram network in the world.
Who?
Melbourne, my
Melbourne,
city.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, I see. This one is the next one.
All right, what are these?
Oh,
Delicious. They're pickles. And in Britain, they'll call them gherkins. And I've seen this word in the US, even on the jars in the grocery store. Okay, so I would say that we use both, but everybody knows them as pickles. And in Australia, Bella's going to tell us that they use both. This is a special type of pickle, right? With the dill, or copper, this seasoning. So it's a special type of sour pickle. Here in Europe, we only have sweet pickles. So if I go to the grocery store and buy pickles, they will always be sweet. And I can't get any of the nice sour ones, which is a little bit disappointing, but let's listen.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
That's the sour one, right? Yeah.
This is
American?
pickles.
Pickles.
Yeah.
What about pickled cucumbers? Just pickled?
Just pickles.
Pickles.
Pickles, never pickled. Just pickles.
Pickles.
Like a pickle, plural. Pickles.
Oh.
Gherkins.
Gherkins.
That's where it comes from.
Yeah, gherkins.
And you have to say it like that too.
Sounds different.
Gherkins.
It sounds like, almost like you want to puke or something. Gherkins.
Gherkins.
Yeah, that's because they taste so bad.
It tastes so good. Excuse me. We need to talk.
Gherkins.
What about Australian?
It's another situation where
Oh.
we use both.
Oh, I see.
So
Are you
if
just making
it's
this up?
If it's
no, 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 no.
if it's smaller, it's bigger, it's pickles.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Wait.
That was just a guess.
I'm trying to think now. No. If it's kind of bumpy like that, then it's a pickle. Wait, I can't remember which way is which.
Yeah,
but one is bumpy and it's a pickle, and then one is smoother and it's a gherkin, or the other way around.
vice versa.
Like in a burger, it would be a pickle, but then if you get it from like those Eastern European stores,
Right.
then they're gherkins.
Oh, so you use both.
Yeah.
In London, there's also a gherkin building, right?
Yes, we call it the gherkin.
Yeah, because it looks
It's
like
in the shape
gherkin.
of a gherkin.
Gherkin doesn't really sound vegetable
No.
either, right?
Neither does
Gherkin.
barbecue anymore.
Gherkin.
Yeah.
Gherkin.
The next one is this.
All right, so they said that there's a building in London called the Gherkin. And if you ever look at the London skyline, there's this building, looks kind of like an egg, but they call this the Gherkin. So if you're ever in London, look for it. It's a beautiful building. So anyway, she says, yeah, we use both. Of course we use both. She doesn't remember when to use one and when to use the other. Okay. The next word, we're going to jump down to this one here.
One.
What are these?
So short. This one. Sorry, I just.
You don't know this one? All
No.
right. Taya, do you know?
I don't know.
No.
No? All right. They're called suspenders. Suspenders. And in the UK, they will call them braces. But what are braces for me? It's the metal on the teeth, right? So they'll use suspenders in the US and in Australia, and in the UK, they'll talk about braces.
Got it. Suspenders.
Suspenders.
And that would be X shape suspenders because there's
Yeah.
Y shape and X shape. But
Oh.
suspenders.
Yeah, suspenders. That makes sense.
It looks like a
What about
Y.
the UK one?
We call them braces.
Braces.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we do.
Braces. But you also understand suspenders, do you?
Yes, yeah, suspenders.
Oh,
Like,
I
I
see.
think I've become more like accustomed to suspenders.
They are all like imported, exported.
Yeah, because I
right?
have a few and I buy them like online and they're always like suspenders.
Yeah. What about Australia?
Suspenders.
Suspenders. What about braces?
Again, if you said it, I would know what it is, but we wouldn't use that. We just say suspenders.
So braces have another meaning.
Yeah, never,
Right,
never
in
those.
America.
It would only be, only the thing for the teeth. Straighten your teeth out. Braces, braces, braces. Yeah, only the teeth.
Yeah.
What about like, if you have an injury
That's
and then
a brace.
Oh,
But you wouldn't have, you could have several braces,
Right.
but usually you just have one at a time. So it's like,
Right.
oh, I have a brace for my arm or my leg or whatever.
okay, same word though, right?
Yeah, same word.
You also use brace for injury.
Yeah.
So you can both wear a brace and braces at the same time.
With braces.
With braces. Wow, you're like the king or queen of braces.
Oh my god.
Look a bit strange though, that combination.
Yeah. So right, we've been talking about
Okay, so that's the end of the video. You can have a brace for an injury. You can have braces on your teeth and braces to hold up your pants. So you would be the king of braces. All right. Without the video, what would you call this thing here?
Shirt.
It's thicker than a shirt. So I would call it a sweater. And then if it had a hood, I would call it a hoodie. Right? You might want to call it maybe a pullover, something a little thicker to keep you warm. In Britain, they call it a jumper. Right? So I don't know where the word comes from, but in Britain they will use this word, and it will catch you off guard. It caught me off guard. Someone told me that's a nice jumper, and I thought, who's jumping, right? But they were talking about my sweater. How about these? What are these?
Jeans.
Jeans, but more general. So I would call them pants, for example. What would they call them in England? Trousers. I would also call them trousers in the US, but this is what old people would call them, right? Old people. And here in Australia, they will call them pants. Why is this one a little bit silly? Because in England, pants is underwear. It's what's on underneath your trousers, right? So if someone says if I were from the UK and someone said, "Oh, nice pants," I might think, "Oh,
Wait, what?
can you see my underwear?" So yeah, this one's really funny. And then also, if something is really kind of silly or stupid, they might just use the expression, "Oh, that's pants," right? So that's why that expression is funny. What about this little piece of pavement? It's between your house and the road or the apartment.
Way? I don't know.
Yeah, I would call it a sidewalk. A sidewalk. In Australia, they might call it a footpath. And in the UK, they call it pavement. And this word to me means anything that is cemented over, right? So anything that has cement all over it. It's pavement. All right, and last one. Let's finish this up and then I can let you guys go. What is this thing?
It's a trash can.
Yeah, it's a trash can.
Rubbish
We put our
can.
trash. Yeah, so in the UK, they would call it a rubbish bin. Yeah. Yeah, so rubbish is the stuff that you don't want, and we would call it trash. If you said a rubbish can, people would understand you, but this word rubbish sounds very sophisticated, like rich people trash or something like that. So yeah, very, very strange word for us. And I would call it a rubbish bin here as well. Okay. So yeah, this is just vocabulary for things, but you can also see that sometimes there are differences in even the verbs that we use, or the different adjectives that we use to describe things. And I'm learning, you know, I learn something new every couple of weeks, I would say, when it comes to British English, because now that I live in Europe, I have to get used to listening to British English. And most Europeans use British English before they use American English. But we have television shows, we have YouTube, so American English is getting more and more popular. So it's starting to push its way in. Really fun to see these differences. Also, the pronunciation is quite fun to look at. So, for example, water, you know, water. So I make that T. I make the T almost like a D. Water.
Yes.
Yeah, and in England they'll say water. So the T is really pronounced, but the R is kind of pushed off, right? And in Australian, you can hear in the Australian accent, it's a little bit of the mix of both things, right? So it can be quite fun. Okay, so do any of you have any questions?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
No? All right. How did you like this lesson? It's interesting?
Yes. Of course.
Yes.
Not too difficult to understand all of this weird stuff. Okay. Yeah, Max. Max almost said something. I heard Max grunt. Grunt. Okay. So thanks for joining me. And too bad no one else showed up. But next week we'll try to get back to that story that I have planned for today. And yeah, have a good week and
Have a nice week.
see you all next week. Okay.
See you.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.